welcome to Soulful Sunday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoga, and we are streaming live. Moderating today are the lovely Delene and the lovely Dre. Thank you so much, moderators, and thank you so much to everybody for joining us today. Oh my goodness, what was I going to tell you? Something. Oh, well, if you haven't already done so, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you click on that notification bell so you always know when we have something new here on our YouTube channel. You can find our website at arielscorner.com, arielscorner.com. On the header, or in the headers and footers of all those pages, you'll find links to our social media, including our Discord server and our private Facebook group. That's a good place to go if you want to be part of our community. Also, while you're on that website, you can have access to all of our stuff. We have courses and booklets, guided meditations, articles, all kinds of cool stuff. So it's all free of charge. Avail yourself as you desire. arielscorner.com. We have a podcast hub that you can find at arielspodcasts.com. And we also have a shop, and that's located at arielscornershop.com. arielscornershop.com. Now, I have two dogs, and last week one of my dogs got sick, and he's all better. But then, of course, whatever he gave to my other dog. So I was up for the last 2 nights straight with no sleep because of her having to get up and do her thing every couple of hours. So we have to go into the vet in the morning. But as a result of that, I didn't really have time or the energy or the focus to prepare something for today. So I'm left without anything prepared. So somebody had asked if I could do some question and answer. So I guess we could do that. If anybody has any questions, you can put them in that chat thread, and I will get to them now because that's pretty much all we've got on here. I'm also looking to see if I have some questions on YouTube. I think we do. And so I figured that's what we would do today. But we'll start out with our normal meditation. So if you're in a place where it is safe and appropriate, please close your eyes and begin to take some nice, long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel more light and peace entering your body and mind. With every exhale, let go of all tension in your body, along with anything that you do not want in your mind. Inhaling peace and exhaling as you let go. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of our grove, a bonfire blazes forth, and it lights us and the grove with a sacred golden light. We recognize that this is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it easily and gently burns away everything unlike itself, leaving us safe and serene. We also call upon our angels, our guides, and our teachers. We ask that they guide us as we walk upon the way, helping us to become happier, wiser, more peaceful, and more loving people. Blessed be. Let's see, I thought I had a couple questions in here. Somebody had asked a question about when I did a lecture called The Sorcery of Compassion. It was our last lecture upload. And we were talking about the power of loving one's enemies. And the question was, what if your enemy is a corporation? Do we love the people who work at the corporation, or do we love the corporation itself? There's no limit to how much love you can express, but it's hard to love something that's not real. It's not so hard to love something that's not a being, and a corporation is not a human. But it is peopled, like you said, by people, and there are people who are making the decisions. So I would probably, if you were going to be trying to express love to the corporation, it would be to the people who are making those decisions. That's the way I would do it. Okay, and then we have there's another one in here I saw. Huh. Hold on just a moment. I am so sorry. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Search for. That's what I wanted. Here we go. I have a question. Okay, this was about ritual. Okay, it said, thank you so much for the ritual that you showed to bind the negative voice inside of me and the insecure voice that used to hold me back. When I did the ritual, I was at a village house so I could easily bury the paper I used, but now I don't really have that option. The only place nearby where I could bury it easily is a cemetery. Would that be a problem if I buried it there? I'm thinking you're probably talking about the freezer spell. I can't remember which one you were doing, but any of those that you're supposed to bury something, you can bury it anywhere that there's ground. It doesn't necessarily have to be at your house. But if you absolutely can't bury something, that's okay. You can just tear it up and throw it away and know that it's been taken care of. Because remember that everything we do in spell work is symbolic, and we are creating symbolic gestures to our deep mind. So the idea of burying something is to dispose of it in a way that's away from you and complete, sort of like a finality. So if you can't bury something, you can just rip it up and toss it in your trash. You could burn it and scatter the ashes, anything that gives you that sense of finality. And then this is a question about the freezer spell or any freezer spells. What if we don't know the neighbor's name? Do I write her address? You don't need to worry about it so much. You can, if it's a neighbor that's making a lot of noise that you're trying to quiet them down, you can just say the neighbor that's making all the noise. You can be very, it's real simple. The idea is you're talking to your deep mind when you're doing a spell. So your deep mind understands you're having trouble with this person who's making too much noise. So the person making all that noise, this is who I'm doing this for. Okay, this is about the way of the initiate. This is a question. It says, thank you. Is there an example of the life we have to leave behind in order to initiate? Some of us know the things we do are normal and see no difference if you get to the initiate. What are some of the old ways, please? Is it like having the 10 Commandments, learning to meditate or breathe differently, abstinence? Please, I think this question is one that a lot of people have. The way of the initiate isn't necessarily something, a path that you have to walk where you have to be abstinent. It's not something that like the path of maybe a monk or something where you have to take a vow of celibacy or a vow of poverty or something like that. It's not that so much. It's the ability to see things differently. When you're walking the path of initiation, you recognize that things aren't the way they appear. And so you're no longer judging by appearances. And there's a plethora of ways that an initiatory path may manifest for somebody, and everybody's very unique and different. So I can't tell you, what that's going to look like. But it's not necessarily a path of abstinence. It's not that it can't be. I mean, I'm sure that can be part of it if that's, your road that you're walking. But in my experience, the path of initiation is really a speeding up of your spiritual progress. And it usually involves some sort of daily magical practice. And not necessarily always the same thing, but some sort of daily magical practice that puts you in touch with the higher realms that all exist deep within you. And that you start to see the world from the perspective of those higher realms rather than from the perspective of that lower self or that ego mind. And when you are achieving that, you make different kinds of choices in your life, different kinds of decisions, because you're not reacting so much to appearances, but you're starting to see the energy behind things. So I don't know if that helps with that or not. What if you don't have... Oh, okay, this one was about desire. What if you don't have the fire in your desire? I want things that I know will make my life better, but I don't really feel a strong desire for anything. In fact, I feel rather blah. How can I fix this? Or can I still manifest what I want without having a strong desire for it? I know it's a weird question, but I would really like some help. I'm not sure that you don't have a desire. I think perhaps maybe I don't know you, so it's impossible for me to say. But I know that sometimes for me, I've talked myself in the past, I've talked myself into not having any sort of desire because I don't want to be disappointed. And so, I kind of I kind of turn down the volume on my desire. And I would say for you, it may work for you, I don't know, but for what I did is I started practicing. Well, what do I want? And even if it was just a faint flicker or shimmer of a desire, I would sit with that and feel that growing and feel my way into the desire. Well, why do I want it? What might that look like? And what would happen if I got that? When you say, I want things that I know will make my life better, but then if you sit with that idea of, okay, I know this, let's take one thing that you know is going to make your life better, and you sit with that idea and it's starting to feel interesting, but then what would that do? What would that bring you if you got that? And how would it make your life better? And how does that feel if your life is better? And then what would be the next phase in making your life better and better and better? And just practice it. You can just practice evoking that experience of desire, because desire, the more you can desire, the more powerful your magic is. That's for sure. So don't feel bad that you're not feeling a whole lot of desire, but practice. It's like practicing an instrument or practicing your artwork. Even if you're not that good at it at first, if you keep at it, it grows. I am currently working through the Ascension Psalms. I did the Golden Psalms after I finished the Elemental Bodies and intend on finishing the Ascension Psalms before moving forward. Should I wait to start actually doing this part of the exercise until I'm done with the Ascension Psalms? I don't want to do too much at once, as I've experienced some rather unpleasant things before. Yeah, it's usually not the best idea to do everything at once. It's a good idea to take one little thing at a time, and there will be plenty of time for you to take care of all of it if you still want to. But I would ask, what do I feel is the most important thing for me to focus on right now, and then just focus on that. Now, if you really want to do another thing and you just was like, but I got to finish this. Well, if you really want to, you could always put the thing that you got to finish on hold and do the thing you want to do. So if you're, it says, you did the Golden Psalms after you finish the Elemental Bodies and intend on finishing the Ascension Psalms before moving forward. That's a lot. You may want to at least, for me, I would probably finish a Witch's Primer and then start doing the psalm work, or put Witch's Primer on hold for a little bit and focus on the psalm work and then come back to it. Just ask yourself which one draws you more, which one gets you feeling more excited, instead of thinking that you have to do everything. Can you give me an example of what might be the effects of astral projection and not clearing, especially if we may have weird experiences, lucid dreaming, and so on? So it's always a good idea, no matter what kind of magic you're doing, to do some sort of cleansing, clearing, grounding and centering, focusing, cleansing your aura, whatever, so that you're starting fresh. It's just like when you go to work in the morning. Usually it's a good idea to take a shower first and to get dressed, and then to comb or brush your hair, do your makeup, whatever you do, and get all ready, and then go to work. You don't want to just roll out of bed and show up to work. And the same thing with any kind of magic. It's a good idea to get prepared somewhat for it. And that's what we do a lot in A Witch's Primer, show you how to do the purification of your aura, show you how to relax, how to focus, ground, and center, how to put up your protections. But if you're doing that regular daily work in A Witch's Primer and then you do astral projection, you should be good to go. You don't have to do any extra kind of cleansing. Let's see. Okay, there's another one on Psalms. Okay, there's 3 questions on Psalms. Thank you for sharing your teachings on the Psalms. They've been very meaningful for me. I had a couple of quick questions I was hoping you would clarify. When working the Psalms, you give us special meanings for some of the words. What if I can't always recall those exact meanings, but still read with the same intention? Does it still work if the meanings I'm holding are slightly different from the ones you provide, or do they need to be the same? The meanings change depending on what you're working on. You can read the Psalm 100 times and get 100 different meanings. Some of the symbols are fairly consistent, but it really depends. Just like if you're doing a tarot reading for yourself, yeah, this card usually means this, but right now I'm getting a different perspective based on what I see in the rest of the reading. So the Psalms can do the same thing. Those symbols, those seeds of magic can give off different understandings for you, depending on the circumstance. Plus, if you go to my website, arielscorner.com, you'll notice in the main menu, oops, let me pull that up so I know what I'm talking about. In the main menu, there's an item called Psalm Magic. If you hover over that, you get a drop-down menu, and one of those is called Magical Psalm Symbols. And so if you're kind of stuck and you're wondering, I don't know what this means, see if it's listed in that, if that word or that symbol is listed in that list, and then I give you some examples of ideas. None of it's dogmatic. You don't need to use mine. Whatever you come up with is fine. It's just between you and your inner guide, you're going to come up with what you need. But if you get stuck, that's a good resource. Okay, you had a couple other questions, and I'm going to look and see if we have any live ones. In your experience, how long does it usually take for a psalm to plant the seed in the mind and begin showing results? That's hard to say because it depends on you, depends on your sphere of influence, depends on your experience, depends on the perceived, how severe you perceive the experience to be, which has a lot to do with your sphere of influence. Because if it seems like it's a big deal, you may put that out there, that this is a big deal and it may take longer. So it really depends. But as a general rule of thumb, if I don't start feeling better about the whole thing after a week or two, I need to kind of retool it and make sure that I'm clear about what I'm working on. If it feels like it's just not moving, I can change the psalm I'm working on it, or I might break the goal down into smaller bits to make it feel more achievable for my deep mind. But it really depends. If it's not too personal, what would you say has been your biggest result from working with the Psalms? Oh, I don't know. I've been doing all this stuff for so long. I've gotten to the point where I don't really even see things as big and small anymore. I just look at it as success or not success. I really am not that impressed by it like I used to be. And that doesn't mean that I don't still feel the joy of it, but I don't really see it as much as being, oh, this is a big thing that I got, or this is a not so big thing. But I do remember having some really amazing financial success in one of the workings, and it just like came out of nowhere. I was not expecting this money to be able to come so easily. Never knew that this source of income existed. It just kind of showed up. Like we always say, now don't expect a basket of money on your doorstep when you do a money spell. This was pretty darn close to a basket of money showing up on my doorstep. It wasn't that, but it was just, it was very unexpected. So I do remember an unexpected amount of money coming from an unexpected source. I needed some money for something, but I didn't need quite that much. So that was pretty amazing. Let me see if we have any that have come in on this side. Oh, a bunch. Okay. Here's from the live stream. Ariel, is banishing something based in lack, like loneliness or poverty, a double negative, and one should focus on growing love or money instead of doing the forms of lack to be banished first? So like you're saying, banish poverty. Yeah, it's hard to banish poverty because poverty is a lack of money. But you could banish the thoughts that are keeping that poverty in place, or banish the attitude, banish the thought form of the poverty. You could do that because there's reasons why we have poverty, and those are all reasons based in thought. So I have a couple of those processes you can do. I think it's called Process to Solve a Problem. Let me tell you what it's called. I'm sorry, I'm not super fast on this. It's called, there's a video called A Process to Solve a Problem. If you listen to that video, you can take one of those things that you're trying to banish and get to the root of it, what it is that's causing the problem in the realm of thought. And then you could let go of that thought. You could eliminate or banish that thought. But yeah, to just banish the effect of the thought is kind of a double negative. It can work, definitely can, but it's hard to see a banishing of a lack. So it's easier when it's something like that to work on what you want, or to banish the cause of the lack. But if there's a negative manifestation in your life, that's much easier to eliminate or banish because it's something that's there that you don't want. But it's a lot harder to conceive of banishing something that's not there. So in that case, you could banish, like I said, the thought form underlying why you're having the lack, or just work on it from the positive. It really just depends. When banishing a debt, what if I owe that debt with another person? Could it easily affect the other adversely? Well, if you're banishing a debt, it's not going to make anything worse. It's not going to be adverse. But if your debt is with the other person, what you could do is not so much worry about the other person, but just gear the spell toward you being free of the debt, and then don't worry about how. That's usually the best way to free your mind. It's like, I don't know how this is going to work out, but what I want to be free of this debt completely. And you have the right to have your side of the debt freed. What you don't want to do is say, well, how is that going to work? Do I have to figure out how to pull them out of this debt? And then let the infinite work the details out for you. Let the infinite handle that. And you'll be guided. You'll be shown. You may, get introduced to some sort of financial person that understands how to extricate yourself from that debt or whatever. Or maybe the whole thing gets solved for both of you and you're both happy, But if you work on the spell to get you think about the end goal more than the process that you think should be involved. So the end goal is this, and let the infinite take care of the means. I live off grid, so freezer spells are kind of hard since I don't have a freezer. Anything that could work with my situation. I think I have binding spells in there. I have all kinds of spells. There's freezer spells, not the only way to handle it, but banishing spells, binding spells. You could, I mean, I don't know what the situation is, but there's a getaway spell. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. So it doesn't need to be done with a freezer. What's the difference between occult and esoteric? Well, they are similar. Occult means hidden. Esoteric means available or understood only by a certain select few of people or small amount of people. So it can mean the same thing from that point of view. But occult simply means something that you can't see. Esoteric means it's only seen or understood by a certain few. What did I do with my tab? Here you are. I feel the need to say thank you for all the resources you keep digging for us. Oh, you are so welcome. You are so welcome. I wish I had more resources for you today, but at least we're answering some of these questions. Okay, I've got some more here, some more questions on this side. And let's see if anybody else has any that you want to put in here. Let's see, I had a couple more down here. What is the best time to meditate the Psalms? Does a person have to cleanse himself as Muslims and Jews do? Do we need to sit in a very clean room with clean clothes without any filth on them, like a drop of urine, spit, or any bodily fluids? After having intercourse with my wife, how many days needed do I need to clean to read, touch the Bible, or Book of Psalms? Okay. None of that is necessary. Not one thing that you mentioned is necessary. You don't need anything to work the Psalms except for a book of Psalms. That's all you need. All the other stuff is completely up to you. It's completely up to you. In general, magic works well if you're relaxed and in a clean, tidy environment. Not you don't have to be obsessive about it. But if the room is tidy, it's less distracting. Also, it's good to be in a relaxed frame of mind. So doing some sort of a grounding and centering like I teach in a witch's primer, or just a relaxation meditation, something simple, and or a cleansing is good. Like and you don't have to go crazy with ritual cleansings either. It can just be as simple as visualizing light around you, or when you do take your shower, to just visualize the light coming out of the from the water all through your aura. You could even scrub your skin with some fine sea salt if you want to, or take a bath, things like that. But you don't have to worry about being ritually cleansed or any of that in order to work the Psalms. Magic in general does seem to be easier to focus when there is a certain level of cleanliness and relaxation and focus, but you don't need to be obsessive over it, and it doesn't need to be anything extreme. I'm almost finished with my earth body, and I've noticed that this one is sort of difficult for me due to I can't seem to get enough sleep now. I sleep, and it's restful even. Hope that this will pass. I love to sleep, but I love to be awake to get things done. I'm excited for the spirit body. I'm definitely noticing pleasant changes. With all of it, but when you're working a witch's primer, give yourself 1 or 2 weeks on each lesson. And if you don't feel like you've done it completely or done it right, don't worry about it. Just move on. You can always come back and redo stuff later. But a lot of times people get stuck on a week and they think that they can't move on until they've mastered it. Just give yourself 1, maximum 2 weeks on a lesson, and then just keep going. That's my recommendation, and don't worry about it. What happens when you're not really casting spells, but things just happen to connect you to things you want? How do you measure that? Well, I don't know that you have to measure it, but if things are just working out for you, then just be grateful, right? Be grateful for it. If it's always that way, then great. You don't need to worry about spells. then, but if it's just happening from time to time, yay, less work on your part. I wouldn't worry about it. Objective truth exists. Oh, I don't want to get into an argument. Since we are learning the act of forgiveness in another to have peace in our mind, to attract good and peace in our life, how do we deal with the unacceptable behavior from people that is beyond our control? That's a great question, and that's like the $1 million question, isn't it? You don't have to accept other people's negative behavior. You don't. You can love them, be compassionate for them, and even forgive them, and still not put up with their nonsense. They are two mutually exclusive things. You can say no. You can even put somebody in prison and be compassionate and loving with them. Right? You can be seemingly very extreme on the external plane while still having an open heart and still having love in your mind and still being compassionate and forgiving. The difference is that you're not, if you're taking measures in the physical realm to either disconnect yourself from somebody or somehow handle their bad behavior, you're not doing it out of revenge. You're not doing it out of attack. You're doing it out of compassion for yourself and to them. But that's a good question. How come infinite grace and love doesn't include animals, the ones who suffer from men's desire for meat, milk, eggs, leather? I really wonder. That's a tough one. Infinite grace and love does include everything and everyone. The infinite loves everything and everyone. However, we have been given free will here, and the animals have not to any great degree. Animals are bound by instinct where we are not. So if it wasn't for human beings, the animals would be fine. But because we have included human beings, humanity, into the mix, humanity is obviously at its best when it's taking care of the environment, taking care of things, and taking, not exploiting nature, not exploiting the resources, not exploiting animals. So that's on us. Has nothing to do with infinite grace and the animals. It's that this earth that we inhabit is our home, and a lot of it is our own projections and our own making here. And so we do have to be held accountable for our behavior toward animals and to the environment and things like that. And that's why so many people in the craft tend to be pro-environmentalists, and they're usually animal lovers, and many of them are vegetarians, vegans. Not all, and I don't believe that. I don't necessarily believe that meat and milk and all of that is cruel to the animal, but when it's done by way of industry, it becomes very cruel. So if anybody that's lived or grown up on a farm knows that you're not being cruel to those animals, and even if you slaughter them, you're doing it in a very humane way where they don't experience pain. And if you have a cow that gives milk, you usually take good care of it, and it's happy. So it's not necessarily that you can't participate in dairy and meat and all of that stuff, but it's just the way we do it is really cruel, and that's on us, and we have to fix that. Okay, let's see if we have one more question here. Okay, I have a couple here. Do you have any good cutting the chord spells, and can I use the Psalms? You can use the Psalms, and I do have a good cutting the chord spell. What it's called, that is the $1 million question here now. Let's see if I can find it here. Unless probably one of the moderators already found that for you, but let me see here. Okay, it's called A Simple Spell to Cut Ties with a Person. A Simple Spell to Cut Ties with a Person. It's on my YouTube channel. Okay. I have found myself laughing a lot lately. Is it true that that's an effect of the angels? I heard they love to laugh. LOL. It can be. It can be. Laughter is also just a very magical act. When we laugh, it usually is an indication that something we're doing something right. Now there's genuine laughter that comes, just uncontrollable laughter. That's not the same as mocking laughter, where you're laughing at somebody and you're not really enjoying some sort of a release. You're mocking them, and it's a different type of laughter, and you know the difference. Most of us can tell the difference between the two. But the that genuine laughter, I have a lecture on that. I think it's called The Witch's Cackle, and you might want to listen to it. It's all about the magical properties of laughter, and so many times when I've been in group magic, especially, and we've been working on a spell, and if we all spontaneously just start cracking up and we can't control ourselves, that's usually an indication that it's very successful. It's not that it's unsuccessful if that doesn't happen, but I remember the first few times that I went through that, I thought, oh no, we're being so disrespectful. We really got to hold it together. And then as time went on, we all learned, no, that's not necessarily true. Sometimes you just have to let it happen and understand that that's an indication that things are working well. Now, the angels do love to laugh. They do. But that's not necessarily the only reason why you're going to laugh. You're going to laugh just because you're in the right place emotionally and psychically. It's usually a good indication that you're in the right place. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I'm sorry I didn't have anything prepared for you today, but hopefully that was fun. Thank you so much to the amazing moderators. Today we had the lovely Delene and the lovely Dre, and we will be back for Witchy Wednesday on Wednesday. And until then, blessed be.